The legend of Lapu-Lapu was connected with the tradition called Kadaugan sa Mactan, celebrated on the 27th of April. It is a tradition that has been done in Lapu-Lapu City for quite a few years now. It is to be done to honor the victory of a bloody battle between Datu Lapu-Lapu and Ferdinand Magellan that took place in Mactan at 1521. In the said events, several activities are done, one of which is the reenactment. This reenactment of event has been staged every year on the same day, April 27, since 1981, as documented in history books. Lapu-Lapu and Reina Bulakna, the chieftain's wife, and Ferdinand Magellan are played by the local actors and actresses.
The Battle of Mactan, which is done at the Mactan Shrine, usually begins at a high tide, which meant this was as early as 8 a.m. This is because it is widely assumed, and preferably so, that Ferdinand Magellan's armada arrived at this hour. The city mayor usually gives an encouraging and passionate speech that's done after the play or shortly thereafter to honor the hero and protector of our beautiful citified island. Food festivals, showdowns, and rampada sa kalsada are also one of the many activities that are done on this day. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Bianca Nicole Benueza from Group J, and I will be talking about the creative nonfiction story entitled Phone Call, which is a story based on true events. I will be explaining how the pandemic affected the real-life Luna, who I will be continuing to refer to as Luna since our interviewee has asked to remain anonymous. As narrated in the story, Luna, along with their family, was financially struggling during the pandemic. Luna has admitted that they genuinely didn't expect to end up in such unfortunate conditions. So, for Luna, this was a moment of overwhelming helplessness, hopelessness, despair, and struggle. Eventually, a relative of theirs contacted them and offered a job, which helped them recover from the difficulties that they were facing. Soon after, Luna realized that the pandemic was not entirely negative. Luna found an item of the past that to them was of great value. This item was a notebook where Luna used to channel their passion for writing stories and poems. Upon discovering this notebook, it was a time for Luna to discover their old passion. It was a time of self-discovery, for passion to grow, and happiness to fill Luna's heart. In addition to this, Luna has shared that their family bond grew stronger during the pandemic. As a matter of fact, there were less conflicts in their household after the lockdown. To put it briefly, Luna has been affected both negatively and positively during the pandemic. Negatively as in, they were financially unstable at some point, and it had gotten to a point where they couldn't eat proper meals for almost a month, and that their money couldn't afford to buy them even the most basic necessities. A positive impact, on the other hand, is the self-discovery that took place during the pandemic, and the moment where they discovered the notebook that ignited their passion for writing once more, and as well as the rekindling of their relationship with their family, strengthening their bonds, and finally reaching pure and sincere happiness.
The phone call. Luna and their family had a repetitive routine as a month passed after the lockdown. Only except they had a problem. They faced financial difficulty as a result of their parents' inability to return to work due to the virus. They were completely hopeless as a result of this. One day, while cleaning up their house, Luna discovered her old notebooks, which contained all of the poetry and stories she had written years ago. And that reminded her of why she had lost the passion for writing. A melancholic memory indeed. After a few days, Luna and her family had a chance to talk to each other, which they haven't really done before. That is because Luna and her siblings were preoccupied with school and their parents were preoccupied with work. So they had no time for each other, and as a result, that led to a gap between them. As they were having a conversation, her mom received a call. It was a phone call from her mother's aunt, who was offering her a job. Her mother agreed and accepted the offer. After that, they were finally able to recover from their financial difficulties. Her passion for writing had unexpectedly reignited, as if the phone call was a sign for her to be happy again. At that point, Luna realized that hope takes form in many things, even in phone calls.
Hello, I am Winona from Group G, and I am here in front of you to discuss what C is all about. But before I dive in, you must know the difference between fiction and non-fiction. So first, fiction is basically a literary text that comes from your mind, imagination. Basically, it means you can defy the physics of this world and put everything that comes into your mind into your own story. Non-fiction, basically from the word non-fiction, meaning that it heavily relies on the real world. It follows the physics of this world, and you can't just put anything on it. Now, a fiction story talks about local legend, myth, or history. However, our story is all about history rather than a myth. In particular, how the place Lapu-Lapu City gained its current name. Long story short, a hero named Lapu-Lapu opposed the Spaniards who wanted to take the spices in our land. Now, why is this story considered as fiction despite it happening in the past? To put it simply, because our sources aren't reliant on the actual history itself. So what we've just gathered can be considered as a local folktale rather than actual history. So it's safe to say that this is an example of a fiction literature. Like the standard format of a literature piece, it has its character, setting, and theme. However, it might be a tad bit difficult to locate it. Moving on to non-fiction literature. As I have mentioned before, non-fiction happened in real life. Now, this story that we've represented tells the struggle of a family as the pandemic struck, leaving everyone off guard. I am sure you can relate to this scenario, and unlike the previous fiction story, this one in particular actually doesn't bend the rules in our world. In fact, you can tell that it's believable. So to end this, here's a brief explanation. Story A, which is the legend of Lapu-Lapu, leaves you with more questions, and Story B lets you relive your pandemic experiences, which happened in real life.